Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I have a very special Puerto Rican dish known as pasteles. Now, pasteles is a recipe that is typically eaten around the holidays, and it holds a lot of sentimental value for our culture. So I'm super excited to share it with you guys. So let's get into it. So before I make pasteles, I try to prep as much as possible the day before. So here I have 1/4 cup of homemade sofrito. I usually put it in ice cube trays. So I popped out 2 cubes and nuked it in the microwave for 30 seconds. And I do have 2 videos on my channel on how to make sofrito. And then I'm going to be using 2 pounds of this boneless, thick cut pork chops. All right, so really quick, I'm just going to show you how I cut my pork chops. Now, I like to keep the fat on these because these are center cut, so they tend to be kind of lean in the middle. So I keep the fat. I like that, but feel free to cut it off if you are using the same cut of pork as I am. Now, you can also use pork shoulder, which is actually the most common cut of pork to use, like pork shoulder, pork butt, etc. And you can also use, if you don't eat pork, you can use boneless chicken thighs as well, and even chicken breast will come out really good, or maybe even a combination of chicken thighs and chicken breast. So since these are thick cut, I just slice them down the middle, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to dice them into 1/2-inch cubes. All right, so I diced up all of my pork, and with very, very clean hands, because I unfortunately do not have any kitchen gloves, I'm going to go ahead and marinate my pork. Now, whether you're using a different cut of pork or chicken, you're going to marinate it the same exact way. So I always start with a generous amount of extra virgin olive oil. This is about 1/4 cup. And then I'm going to add some white vinegar. This is also about 1/4 cup as well. And by the way, I will have all of the ingredients in the description box below. And then I'm going to add my 1/4 cup of fresh sofrito. A lot of people ask me if they can use store-bought sofrito. Of course, if you get the red jar of sofrito, the tomato-based one, and then the green jar of the recaito, just use equal parts of both. All right, so now I'm going to add some tomato sauce. Again, I'm going to add about 1/4 cup. I always try to do things in equal parts, but you can give it, an eyeball. Just add a generous amount. You want to make sure that your pork is very, very well seasoned, okay? So that it can stand out a bit from the masa. Now I'm going to add some adobo. This is my favorite adobo, the Lori's Casero. I've used it, or I've recommended it quite a few times on my channel. And I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons. Since I have 2 pounds of pork, you want to add a teaspoon per pound. And since we're going to be boiling this pork, it's okay to be a little heavy-handed. Now I'm going to add a bit of oregano. Even though the adobo already has oregano, I just want to add more spices minus the salt. Then I'm going to add 1 packet of sazon. You can also use a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of homemade sazon. I have a video on how to do that. Or you can even add annatto oil or annatto powder. Now I'm going to add some garlic powder. That's about a teaspoon. Black pepper. About a teaspoon as well. Or a teaspoon and a half. And then I'm going to give it a really good mix. As you can see, it is super coated in seasonings, which is perfect. I've gotten quite a few comments on some of my videos saying that why do I use such a small spoon whenever I'm cooking, especially beans or something? And that's true. I never noticed that before, but I don't know. I guess I'm used to it after cooking for almost 20 years. I don't know. So for this video, I used a bigger spoon. So I'm just going to mix everything up really, really good. And you want to prepare your meat no less than 4 hours in advance, but I'm going to marinate this overnight. It's going to be about 24 hours so that the pork can absorb maximum flavor. So now that I have my pork marinating, I'm going to go ahead and prepare my aceite de achote, which is annatto oil. In a deep saucepan, or sauce pot, I'm going to add 2 cups of anutra oil. I am using canola oil, but you may use vegetable oil or corn oil or pure grapeseed oil or pure olive oil. And these are the annatto seeds. You can buy these online if you can't find them at your grocery store. They're very easy to purchase online, whether it's walmart.com or Amazon, and they look like this, and they have a very unique smell. They're a little different from paprika or chili powder. I can't really explain the smell. It's like a little more earthy, I guess. So I have my heat set over medium, and I'm going to add like a little less than a cup of annatto seeds. So about 3/4 of a cup of annatto seeds. And again, my heat is on medium, and I'm gonna let it sit until it comes to a slight simmer. And as soon as the oil comes to a simmer, it takes about, honestly, like 5 minutes or so, I turn off the heat completely, and I let this sit until it's completely cool. So it takes about an hour, but during this time, the seeds are gonna continue to release their color and their flavor into the oil, and it's going to make a really delicious infused oil. And so after an hour, I can safely strain my annatto seeds. And what I like to do is I use a combination of a strainer, a little funnel, and I funnel it into a glass bottle. I found this bottle in Dollar Tree. I use these types of bottles whenever I make coquito, which I do have a video on my channel on how to make that, by the way. And yeah, you definitely do not want to store it in a plastic container. Use glass. You can use like a mason jar, recycled glass, pasta sauce jars, etc. And you are going to need like a separate bowl so that you can empty out your seeds, because it does get full pretty quickly. And then once it's done, you have a beautiful bottle or jar of aceite de achote that's going to give color and life to so many of your Puerto Rican dishes. So it is the next day. It is about 9 in the morning, and I'm going to start preparing my pork. So I transferred my marinated pork into a caldero, and I added enough water until it just covered everything. And I don't know why I didn't catch it on camera, but I also added 1 large bay leaf to the pot. And so all I'm going to do is just bring the water to a simmer. And as soon as the water comes to a simmer, I like to lower the heat, not completely low, but almost completely low. And I put it in the back burner because it's a little smaller. And I just let it simmer for about 2 hours until it is nice and tender. And while my pork is stewing, I like to do more prep for the pasteles so that I can be ready to go once everything is done. So I have here 16 sheets of parchment paper because I'm going to be making 16 pasteles that are like medium, largish. And what I like to do is I like to measure 12 inches long when I roll it out, and then I use that 1 sheet to cut the rest of the pieces of parchment paper. I really hope that makes sense. You just want it to be pretty big enough. Don't overthink it. If it's too big, you can just like fold it a little more when you're wrapping them up. And then these are the banana leaves that I'm using. You can find these at the frozen section where all the Goya stuff is at. I'm not sure if you can find it online, but if you absolutely cannot find this, you can just use parchment paper alone. Hey everyone, I figured that instead of doing a voiceover, I kind of explain like all of the ingredients in real time. So I have here a can of drained chickpeas, and then here I have like about a cup of olives and capers, and they come with pimientos. And then I have here about a cup of pimientos. I just like chopped them up. And then here's my carne. I used a slotted spoon to scoop it out, okay? You know, just to make sure that there's no excess liquid or anything, and it's super, super tender. Like if I use the back of my fork to smash it, it will get nice and shredded. And I am gonna do that because personally, when I eat pasteles, I like the meat to be like a mixture of kind of chunky and kind of shredded. So I'll be doing that. And then I reserve some of the liquid from the stewed pork. I'm only going to be using like about 3/4 of a cup, not all of this, but this is going to be added to the masa and is going to give it amazing flavor. I also have one yautia root. Yautia in English, I believe it goes by cocoyam, malanga, taro root. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just a family of very starchy root vegetables. And this is yautia blanca, white yautia, because there's a yautia that is also purple. So you want to use this one. I don't know how much it weighs, but I say about the size of your hand. Okay. And then here I have some Caribbean calabaza. So this in English, I think it goes by kabocha or kabocha squash. And it also goes by West Indian squash. If you can't find this, you can also use acorn squash, as it is very, very similar. So this is 2 pounds, but I'm only gonna use half of this. The rest I'm gonna save it in my refrigerator, and I'll add it to like, I don't know, like sopa or habichuela or whatever. It's very versatile and delicious. And then over here, I have all of my green bananas. I have 10 green bananas. Okay. And I cut the ends off, and then I made a slit down the middle, and I soaked them in hot water for, I don't know, like 15 minutes, and that's gonna make the peeling process a lot easier, okay? And in here, I also have one plátano, just one. So what the plátano is going to do to the masa or the pastel dough is it's gonna give it a thicker, more cohesive consistency, because the green bananas, they have high water content. So you do not want your dough to be so soft that it will break apart. So this kind of helps keep everything together. It kind of acts like an egg in a dough, okay? And then I have over here aceite de achote. Remember, I made this yesterday, so I didn't have to do that today. It looks beautiful. You can store this in the refrigerator and it'll last quite a long time. And then over here, I have my plátano leaves. They're not perfect. They're not pretty. They don't have to be pretty. All this is going to do is it's going to add amazing flavor to your pasteles. That's all it is. Back in the day, like long time ago, they used to boil the pastel in just the banana leaves, no parchment paper. But now we just use it more like for flavor and not to hold it. Okay. Let me see if I'm missing anything else. Oh, and then I have here, this is butcher's twine. When I bought it at the store, it rung up as a pastele string because that particular grocery store has a lot of like Puerto Rican produce and like a large clientele of Puerto Ricans. So yeah, I think I'm ready to go. So yeah, so I started the process yesterday, and even though it's a little tedious, as long as you start like a day or two ahead, easy, okay? It's really not hard, it's very easy. So yeah, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna peel this, I'm gonna cut this in half, chop it up into cubes, and then I already washed this. I'm gonna peel it and then chop it up, and then we're gonna go from there. Oh, and real quick, I found like this little baby piece of batata in my refrigerator. Batata in English is just yam, sweet yam. And I'm gonna throw it in there because I don't want it to perish in my refrigerator, but you do not need to add this if you don't want to. It's just about like the size of my palm.
Then once I had peeled and chopped everything up, I went ahead and I started to puree everything, as you can tell by my food processor. So what I like to do, I like to add just a little bit at a time.
not too much because I don't want to burn the motor in my food processor. This is a very affordable food processor, nothing fancy. I know that they sell expensive machines that are specifically for making pasteles. They're super heavy duty, and I think those are good if you're a person that sells pasteles every year. Then I think that that's a good investment. I don't sell them. I just make them for my family, and that's it. So what I like to do is I like to pulse it a few times until everything is like nice and diced up. Okay? Until it looks about like this. Because again, I do not want to burn that motor and ruin my food processor. And then I use a rubber spatula to scrape any from the top. And I also use my rubber spatula to scrape the sides because I want to make sure that everything is pureed evenly. And then from that reserved broth, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons. I add 2 tablespoons in every batch. And then I set my food processor on high until it is nice and pureed. And then I pause the food processor as needed in order to scrape the sides. So once everything is pureed, I'm going to go ahead and use a spoon to mix it up until it is very, very well combined. And I love the consistency. It's very light and airy. It's almost like whipped. And it also smells incredible. So as I was preparing all of the ingredients, I was adding a little bit of pork broth with each batch. So in total, I added 3/4 of a cup. But I added a little more so that I can complete that 3/4 of a cup. But if you used all of it in the pureeing process, then you don't need to add any more. Just as long as you have 3/4 cup total. And then I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of annatto oil. Now, if you don't have annatto oil or aceite de achote, you can use 2 packets of Goya sazon or any sazon that you like. You can also use 2 teaspoons of homemade sazon instead. Now that annatto oil is going to give it a beautiful color and a very unique flavor. But it's not overpowering. And then I add 2 teaspoons of salt. You can also use 2 teaspoons of adobo. And you're going to be tempted to want to add more spices. But the thing with pasteles is that you want the flavor of the guineos and the root vegetables and the calabaza to stand out. You don't want that to be overpowered with spices. All right, now it's time for the part that intimidates people the most, which is preparing the pasteles. I did went ahead and prepared a few in advance because I wanted to make sure I got the technique down perfectly, because I strive to explain things as best as I can so that when you follow my videos, you're not lost. And always feel free to ask any questions. I try my best to answer them as quickly as possible. So I did went ahead and cut some pieces of banana leaves. I cut 16 pieces because I have 16 pieces of parchment paper. I place it with the lines going horizontal. I wipe it with a wet bar mop to remove any excess dirt. And then I place a teaspoon of that annatto oil in the center so that the masa does not stick to the banana leaf. And then I'm going to fill up a measuring cup with a little less than half a cup of masa, just a little less. And then using the back of the spoon, I'm going to start flattening it and shaping it into an oval. Now, you want it to be not too thin and not too thick. okay? You want it to have a depth of about 1/2 inch, okay? You don't want it so thick where like your filling gets lost, and you don't want it so thin that all of your filling just kind of seeps through. So then I add about 1/4 cup of pork filling. As you can see, I have shredded it up. I shred it by just using the back of a fork and flattening it down. I added about 4 to 5 chickpeas, some pimientos, 1 or 2 olives. Even if you don't eat olives, you still need to add olives because it's tradition. So we only make these once a year. So add the olives. And now I'm going to show you how I roll them. So I like to like flatten the filling just a little bit so it can stick to the masa. And then I flip it over like so. I feel like this is the part that intimidates people, but it's actually very easy. And if you mess up like your first couple of pasteles, do not fret. It does get easier. Now, see? And it looks so good. It kind of looks like a Colombian empanada. Looks so good. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and fold it back up. And I don't know if you saw, I used my hand to kind of like push it to the middle to kind of like compress the pastel. And then I am going to create a seam, folding it like so. Now, I am not the world's best folder. I'm not the world's best pastele preparer, but I try my best and I feel like I do a pretty good job. And when I boiled them, they were great. So I did a good job. So yeah, so I just fold the seam until I have about like 1.5 fingers of space, and then I flip it over to the middle so that the crease is in the middle, and look at that. Hopefully you can see everything really well if you're especially a visual person. Sometimes I'm not the best explainer, but I try my best. I really hope that you can see how easy this is. It's really not hard. It's just a little tedious. It's a labor of love, but I promise it's not hard. And then I go ahead and I fold the ends. I fold it twice. It is going to come undone a little bit, but that's okay. And look, it looks good. So if you notice, whenever you bundle up pasteles, they're always bundled in pairs. They don't like to be by themselves. So by bundling them in pairs, it also helps keep the seams together. And if you notice right here, a little bit of masa spilled out. That's why I like to keep a clean, wet bar mop in handy so that I can just simply wipe off the excess and it's okay. I'm still going to go ahead and double fold the ends. You can double fold or triple fold if your paper is longer. And by placing the other part of the pastel or its pair, it keeps the seams together. All right, now it's time to tie them. This part can look a little complicated, but it's actually very easy. I cut 2 feet of butcher's twine. I place it like so. I place the pasteles in the middle, and then I use the end and thread it through the loop. Okay, and then I gently pull until it creates a slight crease. That's how I know it's nice and tight, but not too tight. As you can see, it doesn't have to look perfect. None of mine are. I pull, I flip it, and then I tie. Now, everyone ties them differently, but it's kind of like wrapping up a present. And then I flip it again, and then I tie the final knot. And now my pastel is ready to go in the freezer. And I do like to cut the excess, but you don't have to. And look at that. We have our first pastele pair. So in total, I made 16 pasteles, or 8 bundles of pasteles. Now, if you use a little less masa, you'll probably make a little more. But yeah, I am super proud. So I went ahead and I put my pasteles in freezer bags, and I'm going to freeze them for at least 24 hours before boiling. I did have a little bit of leftover masa. I put it inside a freezer bag, flattened it up to remove any excess air. And what I like to do is I like to break apart a little piece at a time, and I plop it inside my stews, my beans, and my yellow rice for some amazing added flavor. Now it is the third day and I'm finally ready to eat and enjoy my pasteles. I have a caldero here filled with water, and I'm gonna add plenty of salt. You want the salt water to taste salty like the sea. This is going to flavor our pasteles without over salting it, okay? This is how it's traditionally boiled. I'm gonna place my frozen pastel. And once it comes to a boil, I'm going to set my timer to 1 hour and 15 minutes. And I am going to flip my pastel at the halfway mark just to ensure that each pastel, because remember, they're bundled in two, to make sure that each pastel cooks evenly. All right, so it's been about 1 hour and 20 minutes and my pasteles are done. Now, if you want to boil your pasteles after they're freshly made and bundled, it only takes about half an hour for them to cook. But since I placed it in the water while it was frozen, it takes longer. So I just used some tongs to carefully remove them, and I'm going to let it sit for about 15 minutes so that it can cool slightly. And after about 15 minutes, I used some kitchen shears and cut off the butcher's twine and carefully unraveled the pastel, threw away the paper and the banana leaf, and it is finally ready to enjoy. It is so tender, so flavorful, and they came out amazing. I highly encourage you to try to make them yourself. If you never have, I promise you they are easy. They are a labor of love, but they're so worth it. And as always, if you've enjoyed today's video, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. It helps my channel a ton. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to click that notification bell so that you can be notified when a new video is out. Until next time.